Hi, welcome to another IGCSE GCSE Business Studies video where today we're going to cover the topic market research, which is chapter number 11. Before we go into understanding what market research is, we try to understand that there are two types of business when it comes to marketing. They could be product orientated or market orientated. So product orientated business is one whose primary function is to focus on the product itself rather than trying to understand what his consumers want. So they often only focus on the price and quality of the product they produce because they expect consumers to buy it. This could be like, think about the early cars that were manufactured back in the days in 1928 when Ford started manufacturing the cars. They were very unique, and because of the product being so good, they knew that consumers would come and want to buy it. Second approach is one that is taken by most businesses, is the market-orientated approach. So a market-orientated business is one that carries out market research to establish what the consumer wants and tries to produce a product that answers or projects those desires. So basically, they go to your target consumers. So think about cosmetics or beauty products for females. They would go to the target market. They would go to certain females, certain age groups that they want to produce. They would discuss what would be good for them, what kind of smell, what kind of how do they feel it on their skin, and etc. And they try to produce products accordingly. So this approach is sometimes more safe because you think that you produce a product that people want, you know that it could be, it should sell technically if your research is done right. So we try to understand what is market research. Now, market research is the process of gathering, analyzing, and interpreting information about a market. So first of all, you gather raw data about the market. You try to understand, what consumers like regarding different kind of aspects of the product or different one of things that they seek in a product. And then you try to analyze and you try to interpret these different kind of thing. Okay, so which location or what price, what quality and everything, which age group, gender, all these different factors. You try to make total sense of them. You try to make you try to compose them together so that you can make a meaningful interpretation and you could send them for developing a product. So general questions include what features are desired, what price are you willing to pay, and who would actually buy your product. So think about if every product has a certain age group, certain target market. If you think about music, for example, you have different genres of music and they're targeted towards different age groups. So you have metal music. I'm pretty sure metal music is not targeted towards teen girls or young children. Maybe some of you might listen to it, but I don't think the market generally, musicians generally think that when they produce that. Information gathered from market research can be both qualitative or quantitative. Qualitative basically means they're not numbers, they're rather opinions or facts or judgments. And quantitative are just numbers, information that can be described in numbers. So information is gathered through primary research or secondary research. Primary research and secondary research, you could take both, but they're two different approaches. So primary research or field research is the collection and collation of original data via direct contact with potential or existing customers. So this is where you go out directly to your target consumers and you try to gather data firsthand, tailor-made, specific to your needs. Think about yourself setting up an Italian restaurant. So you'd go to your customers door to door and you'd ask them that, would you like, what kind of pizza you'd expect, what kind of dishes that you would want served. How would you want them served? Do you want certain drinks along with it? Everything concerned to that. So you carry it out through questionnaires, interviews, focus groups, or through observation. So, first of all, you set an agenda. You set what you want to accomplish through your research. And then you decide the best method. And then you decide the sample size, which is how many people that you want to actually, ask or you want to collect data from. You conduct the research and you try to, bring them together, summarize them. You try to make proper, concise form, and you produce a report from it. So questionnaires are conducted either face-to-face, telephone, by post, or through the internet. One thing you have to be very careful when you design questionnaire is they have to be specific in order to produce the best results. So you have to think about your customers may have limited time on their hands and they may not want to spend too much time on your questionnaires. So you have to design the questions accordingly and you have to provide them with certain different options to answer with. If you design a proper questionnaire, it allows you to gather detailed information, priceless information. Sometimes you can link your questionnaires with prize draws, which could make it very encouraging for them to fill out those forms. And this helps you gather necessary things that will allow you to develop a product that is for your future needs. The disadvantages, however, include that sometimes your questions might be designed in a way that lead the customer to answer in a specific way. So if you design poor questions, you get poor results. And conducting the research generally costs time and money. So trying to make those data that you collect, you're trying to present them in different forms of graphs or different types of information that could be used for decision making takes time again. The next form is trying to design. So how can you design a proper questionnaire? Think about writing the questions. So first of all, you decide the number of questions that you need in order to get all the necessary information. You might not be able to get everything that you desire, but you need to get enough so that you can produce a proper product, or you can, enough for your needs. Okay, you might not be able to gather everything, but try to gather what you need. Also avoid open-ended questions that can lead to many different sort of answers, because it may lead to distorted answers. And try to put the questions in the right order. So if you have a general pattern or a general thing, try to ask them in the right way. Once you carry out the questionnaire, decide the number of people that you want to ask and decide the time and location. So if your target market is children, then I don't think when you're trying to perform a questionnaire at night, you're gonna reach much. Again, think about if you want to reach out to art enthusiasts, then you have to most probably go near a gallery. You cannot just travel everywhere to get specific consumers. Another form of primary research includes interviews. So interviews are conducted using ready-made questions which can be carried out with individuals or groups. So the advantages include questionnaires. Generally, you cannot communicate further beyond the questions that are designed. So interviewer can break down the question in case they're not understood. So once you gather response to a question on the spot, you may be able to ask another as a follow-up. However, the process is very time-consuming and expensive. And also the interviewer, his body language, his approach might influence the way the target interviewee, the one who is being interviewed, answers. So it could produce distorted results. So how do you decide your sample size? First of all, let's try to understand what a sample is. A sample is a group of people that are selected to respond to the market research exercise. So samples are selected. They could be a random sample, they could be a quota sample, or they could be focus groups. So random sample is when people are selected at random as a source of information. This is just totally, it could be computerized where the computer randomly picks out certain general phone numbers, or it could be any random form where you definitely do not know who is going to come up. Quota sample is when you select particular people based on either their age or their income or their gender. So if you have female cosmetic products, then you could generally select your sample by gender and age. If you think about selling expensive cars, you could generally select based on income, etc. And so think about your target market basically. Focus groups are a group of people that represent a target market. So basically you get a room full of people. It could be around 20, and you could show them the product, and then you could hold a discussion regarding what they like, what they dislike, how are their first impressions, how much would they want to pay for it. So you could get very detailed information from focus groups. However, it's very time consuming, and sometimes humans are said to be like sheeps where we get influenced by one another. So it could be the case over here that one opinion might actually influence everyone else in the room. The other method includes of primary research is observation. So observation could be through recording or watching or carrying out audits. So recording could be through using meters, such as you could put a meter on a television to understand which channels are being watched. You could watch activities, such as you could watch the number of customers that are coming into the shop during a particular time of day. You could watch the amount of people that are passing by a certain billboard and how many people are taking notice. Audits are different. Audits are basically where you try to analyze past performances. So you could analyze how much of a stock has been sold in the past, how well it has performed. So the advantages include that it's quite inexpensive compared to other forms of gathering data. However, the information only gives you specific basic figures where you cannot decipher the reasoning behind certain behavior. So if you're watching about a number of people that are passing by at a certain time of day, or a number of people that select to buy at a certain time of day, you cannot really interact, or you cannot really ask them why they're doing it. So we studied about primary research, and now we come to another form of market research, which is secondary research. So secondary research or desk research is the use of information that has already been collected by others, but however those information have been generally produced for another purpose. So you try to study others' information, but generally they're not, they could be very different to what your needs are. So information could be from either internal or external sources. Internal sources include relevant qualitative information from departments. This could be your financial accounts, managerial information from the past. So these are very cheap and readily available. External statistics. Now, external sources are those sources that are generally gathered by others and could be for a different purpose, not exactly tailor-made for yours. This could be from government statistics, which provides the information about the population, the age groups, and everything. Newspapers could be about the economy or certain types of products in the industry. Trade association is information about the industry. These are specific magazines of sort. The internet also is the best sort of gathering data. Think about Google. Anyone, when you have any sort of market idea, I'm pretty sure the first thing you do is Google it. So when we think about market research, it is affected by many different sort of factors. Factors include the sample selected. So sample could be the method that you've used. So if you used a random sample, if you use quota sampling, it could give you a different sort of target market. Sample size also matters a lot. So the larger the sample, the more accurate it is, but you cannot actually conduct the complete you cannot actually conduct a research on the complete target population because it's very expensive. Questions asked, if your questions are produced well, then the answers that you receive will be of quality. Bias, some sources are more prone to bias, so think about government statistics if you use that as a source of research. So government statistics in certain countries can be more biased. Think about China or North Korea. When you think about timing also, there different information may remain relevant for different periods. So financial accounts are relevant. They could change from year on year, some of the financial rules. So in terms of secondary research, it also matters who conducts the research because it could be more prone to bias or it could be less reliable because of the secondary, because of lack of knowledge or because of the just the research being not properly done. Market research can be conducted by the business itself, or you have specialized agencies that carry out the research for you. The last aspect we have to consider is the presentation of data. So we've studied already that market research is where you gather, analyze, and try to interpret information. So when you're trying to interpret information, you try to present the information in a way that could be understood by those that require the data in order to make decisions about what product to develop or what kind of approach that should be taken with regard to marketing. So you could use a table or tally chart to record data. You could use a chart which shows a proportional figure for each set. Or you could use graphs to show relation between two sets of data. So what you need to know is you need to know the different types of methods you could present data, and sometimes you gotta understand the purpose of, say for example, the chart has a different purpose compared to the graph. However, when you're presenting data, you have to make sure that it could be understood by those that are it's made for its users, and try not to overcomplicate your presentation. Thank you for watching, and